The cross is a message of power. It is a message of power to those who are being saved. It is a message of power. When I think of the cross, when I think of Jesus Christ dying on the cross, it means power to me. Because when I think of what it does for me, I think of a changed life. I think of a new life. I think of victory over sin. I think of a brand new hope that I have, a power to change that I never had before. All of those things say to me that there is power found in the cross. But it depends on your perspective as to whether that power becomes something that you partake of. I heard about a man who was pardoned by the President of the United States in the early 1800s. This pardon was sent to the prison, and this pardon was presented to the man before the execution had taken place. The man looked at it, looked at who it was from, and he rejected it. He says, "I do not want it." And for the first time, they had to decide whether he could be forced to take the pardon or whether they would go through with the execution. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court Chief Justice ruled on it and said a pardon is a piece of paper, the value of which is determined by the recipient. And if the recipient chooses not to accept it, then the paper has no value. The cross to me has great value because I chose to accept it. I chose to humble myself, admit my sin, and to say, "God, I need your forgiveness, your mercy, based on what happened on the cross." And I receive your pardon. There are a lot of people who will be given that same choice and will reject it. They will say it is foolishness, I do not want to accept it, and they'll walk away from it. What is your perspective of the cross? A man was touring Italy with a friend, and this man said, "You've got to go with me to this one cathedral in this little village. There is a painting there that I have heard that we need to see." And so the man agreed to go with him, and as they traveled, they eventually came to this village. They went to this cathedral, and the caretaker came out to speak with them. They said, we've heard about this painting. We want to go see it. So they followed the caretaker back to where the painting was. And as they came to the painting, they looked at it, and it seemed distorted. It was obviously a masterpiece, but it seemed distorted. It seemed senseless. It seemed top-heavy. It made no sense. And they told the caretaker, "This is obviously a great work of art, but it doesn't seem to project. I don't understand what the painter meant." And the caretaker said, "Get lower. And now come closer. Lower and closer." And when they got from the vantage point of being actually on their knees and looking up as if they were at the foot of the resurrection scene, all of a sudden the painting made absolute sense. Because the one who painted it from the perspective of somebody on their knees looking up at the painting. And the cross, all of a sudden, the resurrection scene, all of a sudden made absolute sense to the one who was looking at it. And many people today, the cross, the crucifixion makes no sense to them. They're looking from a vantage point down at it. They're looking without humility. They're looking with their sins attached to their lives, their sin nature in full operation. But when they humble themselves before the cross, before God, all of a sudden the perspective becomes very, very clear.